Hello, this is Rob Tamakloe, and for my project, I had the Lukasa memory board for my African art. The Lukasa is a memory board, and it's important to the Luba people in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's made from wood, beads, and material, and was generally used in the 19th century to the 20th century. Uh, it's important and integral to the Luba culture in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Luba people are the largest ethnic group in the DR of Congo, and the kingdom arose in the Umbempa Depression in the southern DRC, and you can see the Democratic Republic of Congo is the one highlighted on the current map of the African continent. It's the one in red. So yeah. More about the Luba culture. The Luba culture, due to its size, the Luba people had a powerful and influential presence in Central Africa. They had access to numerous natural resources, including gold, ivory, and copper, and they also had a variety of wooden goods. And the background picture is an example of art that was produced using wood. When it came to history, the Luba people, much like the African continent, was really different from European culture as they preferred to orally preserve their history, and it was generally used to reinforce the foundations upon which the kinship was founded. Um, they used their history to judge contemporary situations, much like Westerners also. Uh, you, like they would look back into history if they had a controversial issue and judge it from the previous previous history, I guess. So the Lukasa memory board is that's the Lukasa memory board in the picture right there. It's made from wood, beads, and material, and the each board design is unique. Therefore, there isn't one general form, but there are some universal elements throughout each board. Some of them are the zoomorphic elements. They usually had etchings on the back, and for this one in the picture, the etchings were symbolic of that of a turtle, and they usually also had low relief carvings and integrated beads and shells, and were fixed onto the board. And so the function of the Lukasa memory board was to it was generally used at ceremonies and festivals, and it was used to preserve informations such as genealogies, court ceremonies, heroic stories, clan migration, and location of cultural sacred objects. So how the Lukasa is read, it's someone from the Mbudia society. Trained they're trained for a while to uh, as to how to interpret the Lukasa and read the Lukasa for history. So basically, a person from the Umbudia society takes their forefinger and traces around the board and fill in the texture, and that's how they get the history. It's kind of weird thinking about it from an outside perspective, but I guess that's how it works. Um, the Luba people were ruled by a divine king and a council of elders, and the Umbudia society were in charge of preserving and interpreting the history of the Luba people, and they would serve as uh, uh, people to get information from in times of a hardship. And so the Lukasa was a mnemonic device for the people in the society to recount history. And yeah, so some cross-cultural comparisons. For I took the Last Judgment from Hugh Nefer from the Egyptian culture, and the Court of Gallimard from the Persian culture. Um, the similarities among these three art pieces is that they all involve recording information or some form of history. The Last Judgment of Hugh Nefer involved information as to how Hugh Nefer would succeed in the afterlife, as to what to do in the afterlife to uh, gain the blessings of Osiris, basically. And the Court of Gallimard, the art piece over here was basically depicting Guyomars being told that his son was going to die, and that was basically his court, and how the the expression on each of the court member faces. And, um, the unlike the other two art pieces, the Lukasa didn't. Well, the Lukasa we have in this picture, we don't know what it's saying, but it, it doesn't have a history that we can interpret. So the differences, some of the differences that are among these three art pieces is that the Lukasa doesn't use calligraphy, and in the Last Judgment we clearly see there are some text and hieroglyphics above the images that tell a story, or those are the instructions. And in the Court of Mars we see a little bit of text above the picture, but in the Lukasa there are no text. And the Lukasa is also in the round, while the other two are on a flat plane. The Court of Mars is on the paper, and the Last Judgment is on papyrus from the Egyptian culture. The Last Judgment and the Court of Mars, they also use images to depict their subject, and the Lukasa uses metaphors and symbols to represent their subject. So, one technique, one mnemonic device that I know of is that circles usually represent people, and squares would represent places like a chief's palace or a shrine. The Last Judgment and the Court of Mars also use image sizing and positioning to show relevance of certain subjects. So for the Last Judgment, there is a hierarchical perspective here. The gods are usually shown to be bigger in size than the mortals. And for Osiris, you can see him sitting down but still being bigger than everybody, and his feet, he's positioned that his feet never touches the ground. So we can clearly see that he's important in this depiction over here. And in the court of Mars, the Gayumar, the king or the sultan, is seated in the middle, whilst everyone in his court is seated around him, and they're all facing him. So we can see that he's the subject matter of this piece of art. Um, in the Lukasa, we don't see that. All we get is metaphors and symbols, and we can't even read it. Someone from the Mbudia society has to trace his finger around it to know what it's talking about. So, yeah. Uh, for my multiple choice questions, uh, which of these did the Luba people have in abundance? We have bronze, ivory, fish, and silver. And who were the people trained to read the Lukasa? Is it the Freemasons, the village chiefs and queens, the Mbudia society, or the village elders? Thank you.